Hi folks, happy Thanksgiving Eve. Look at that, charged batteries, the whole bit. I was asked, so this is a by request video, about tightening chains, and specifically tightening chains on a China quad. And here we have a China quad, and very conveniently it has no plastic on it. And it's this easy. See that bolt? Loosen a little bit. And see that bolt? Loosen it a little bit. I would spray these, and then you loosen that bolt down there, and the one down there too, right? And then you just tighten these up, and that'll tighten your chain. To loosen your chain, and then once you tighten the chain, you tighten the bolts up again. And then what I do, once the bolts are tight, I just tighten these just a touch, just put a little bit of tension on it. Make sure you don't tighten your chain up too much, because if it's too tight, you could kill your rear bearings. It wears the sprockets faster, and you can kill your swing arm bearings. It just you could torque the rear end, break the frame, like this one's broken. So you don't want to tighten it too much, and you also don't want to tighten it too little, because if you tighten it too little and it throws the chain, it like messes your case up in there. So this is how you do a China quad. I have not seen this kind of adjuster on a China quad, but just quickly, this is which one is this? This is the 250. So this is a TRX 250 ES. In this case, you loosen these two, and this thing is kind of an oblong cam. So as you rotate it, it moves the your rear end forward and backwards. And there's actually a wrench with a little, right there, it's got a little hook, and you grab the rear end and rotate it. And typically that's tightening it or loosening it. You might, right there where my finger is, there's a little thing, so you kind of grab it and rotate it this way, and on the other side, 180 out, there's actually, right where my finger is, a hole. So you actually grab this and rotate it, and once again, given that this axle is not in the center of this piece right here, this piece right here rotates in the housing, right, it moves it forwards and backwards. So that's the second kind of chain tightening. And the last kind you actually find like on this 200X. What this 200X does, the rear end is fixed on the carrier, and you actually loosen up this bolt, and the whole carrier slides in and out, which is how you tighten the chain. So it's really looks like I would probably consider this the easiest. And depending on the bikes, they all have different problems. In this case, these bolts are nice and out in the open, so you can spray them and get to them and do whatever you need to do. On the 200S, do I have one with a pumpkin? Yeah, there's one. These bolts go right into where these brake drum is, and if they've been put through a lot of water or they get condensation, whatever, a lot of times those bolts rust up, and then when you try to loosen them, there's a bolt welded up inside that drum casing, and it likes to snap off, and they have a definition for that that's known as screwed. Now it's a bear to take apart. You gotta cut the heads off the bolts and wiggle and twist and, you know, whine and complain. Heating them up is difficult because the bolt on the other end is such a way in. Spraying them is difficult. because it's hard to get the penetrate to where the threads are dirty. If you do go through the trouble of fixing one like that, if you actually look at it, it's tightened and assembled, this is the threaded end of the bolt. It actually goes in a little ways, so it has a tendency to get really dirty right there. If you can actually grind the bolt down so it's more or less flush, so you're not trying to wind all that through. The other thing I took to doing is I like to put a little crease on the bolt with my grinder. Just put a little line on the bolt. Sometimes, depending on how badly rusty the whole thing is, sometimes once I get it all apart, I'll put one on each side, 180 out, and then when you spray it with oil, it does allow the lubricant to get through to take it apart for a second time. Some people put anti-seize on those. If you do, try not to put it where the bolt is going to clamp up against the washer, right? Because you actually kind of want to get a grip, right, so that the rear end doesn't keep sliding. So try to keep it off the washer surfaces. Try to just keep it on the thread surfaces. I use anti-seize quite a bit. I have yet to have bolts like easily come off. I've heard people complain when they've used them on trailer lug nuts that they've had trouble keeping the trailer lug nuts tight. And I could believe that, if you got 10,000 pounds on a trailer and you're bouncing it down the road, maybe that allows things to move. But I've had nothing fall apart on me yet. There's always a first time. I also have a tendency when I use it, you can use my shirt to put it on extra bolts and use my hands, because I tend to use too much. One really doesn't need to use nearly as much as I do, but typically I use it when I've had trouble getting things apart, and then I don't want to ever have that problem again, so I tend to go a little crazy and put too much on. That's me. So anyway, I hope this answers the question on how to tighten the rear end, specifically on a China quad. And generally speaking, I showed you the other two rear ends. I call that the cammed one, and then the one where you actually adjust the swing arm. You actually move the swing arm in and out to tighten the chain. Hope it helps, folks. I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and please enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.